but what's been the vibe around the team this week? I know the Norvell stuff just came out within the last 24 hours, but do you get the sense that this team is locked in? Do you get the sense that this team is ready to go? What's the energy like around this Buffs program ahead of the Rocky Mountain Showdown?
That's part of being in the spotlight, even going back to the off season, that I think helps a little bit right now, is that these guys signed up for this. And so all the new attention, I don't think is really throwing them off. At least, being around the facilities a little bit. And I understand I'm a reporter, so they're going to be on a certain behavior around me, but they're not fazed by any of this from what I can tell. And those comments definitely, that was about as dumb a thing you could do as an opposing head coach right now. I mean, Coach Prime at his Hall of Fame speech, a large percentage of it was about his mother. And to make a comment like that is not smart at all. But, in terms of the matchup, I think Colorado State having a week 2 bye actually works against them. I think if you told me you got to run a marathon and you're going to have to break after mile 2, you're going to go, well, why would I want to do that? I'm just getting started, especially if you had a poor pace out of those first couple miles. Colorado State was semi-embarrassed in that opener. Now, Washington State's a really good football team. You're going to win a lot of games, but 50-24 is not the score you want to have on your home scoreboard leaving that stadium. And so if I want to buy, I want that mile 20 on my marathon. And so Colorado State, I think that works against them a little bit. Now, I kind of think they might be a little scrappy with those comments being made by Jay Norvell. Now, I almost kind of want to go back and revise my score prediction, which was 49-17. I think there's going to be some moments in there where Colorado State makes some plays, but generally I'd be really surprised if this is a close game in the second half.
Where do you think CU has the biggest advantage, and where do you think they have the biggest deficiency this weekend?
Well, Colorado State's new quarterback is a gunslinger, so if he's on and he's targeting the right guys, I don't know, even against Colorado secondary, that's going to be tough to find those spots. But I could see them making some plays with Horton in the game as long as Travis Hunter's not lined up across from him. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I think Colorado has enough faith in Omari on Cooper that they don't necessarily feel like they need to have Travis shadow Horton, but that's a matchup that's going to be kind of interesting in terms of how Colorado decides to match up with it. I could see them making some big plays through the air if they get the right matchup. With a gunslinger a quarterback that made some plays late against Washington State against a pretty vanilla defense at that point. Colorado State's defense was supposed to be pretty scrappy. That's what all the folks in Fort Collins say. So maybe they'll have a couple flashes like Nebraska, but I just I don't see Colorado's offense having the struggles late into the first half against Colorado State the way that they did against Nebraska last week. So I think there's a chance for Horton to make some big plays, and maybe that will be a factor in this game. But I just don't really see an area in which Colorado State is better than the Buffs going into this matchup.
CSU, Rocky Mountain Showdown. Munstertiger likes them in the game, likes them big. Let me get an updated spread as well for the folks that like to play the numbers. But why don't we start with Danny Bailey? How you feeling back there, bud? Big game. First time in a while that we've seen them back, playing on a home field like that.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, I went to the Rocky Mountain Showdown a bunch of times at Empower Field at Mile High. Bummed I'm going to miss it in Boulder. I got a golf trip with some friends, so I'll be playing golf in Estes Park all day on Saturday. And then we'll find somewhere to go out and watch the game and have some beverages at night. I think it's going to be an absolute butt whooping. I'm going 59-13. I think there's a chance Shadur doesn't even play in the second half.
Wow.
They're gonna whoop them. I think that this was a colossal error in judgment by Jay Norvell, but it adds to the rivalry, and so props to him for embracing it wholeheartedly.
I also think it's going to be thrashing. How could you not? After everything we've heard, after everything we've seen, and watching this offense, how is Colorado State expected to slow them down, especially the way that their defensive backs played against Washington State? I just don't see a way where CSU is able to slow that offense down. I'm going to call something right around there. I'm going to go 54-17.
54. So 17 seems to be the number for CSU because that's where I find myself as well. Like I don't understand how they put up many points on the CU
I think
defense.
that's generous, honestly.
It might be a little generous. And here's where I'll disagree. So you said 54.
Mhm.
And what was your number for CU?
56.
56. All right, so we'll keep going in increments. I'm going to go 60 to 17. And
60 burger.
The 60 burger. And the reason I'm going to say that is to piggyback off a conversation that I had with somebody in the press box at Broncos on Sunday. And I also come out and say with that, I like CU to cover the 23. Big number to lay, but I don't see how Colorado State stays up. To piggyback off the point from Broncos and Danny Bailey's point as well, I don't think they take Shedeur out. You know why? He wants that Heisman Trophy. Deion wants that Heisman Trophy.
Good point.
And the thing about Shedeur that makes him so tough is he's shifty. He wears defenses down. He's got the bling on his wrist. I mean, he plays with that swagger. I think they go out and try to make a statement. So that's why I'm willing to throw out that ridiculous of a score prediction because traditionally, yeah, you take your quarterback out, but Shedeur, Deion, Travis, they're playing for keeps.
You heard Coach Prime, he was talking to Gilly yesterday, and his son, Deion Sanders Jr., came up to him after he pulled Shedeur out and said, Dad, Shedeur has 394 yards. And Coach Prime said, if I would have known that, I would have left him in, let him get 400.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, even like they're so in sync because there was that moment in the post-game press conference where Prime was like, he got mad at Shedeur for taking his helmet off, right? And Shedeur dropped it's personal, Dad. And he just laughed. And it's just like this team is so in sync. It's crazy, man.
I would be really surprised if CSU finds a way to stay in this game. You look at the Rocky Mountain Showdown history, like my time being a Buffs fan, it doesn't go back to where CSU was competitive with CU. Every time I've gone to a Rocky Mountain Showdown, all of CSU is gone by the fourth quarter. Like it is just black and gold. It used to be in Sports Authority Field. So how could you expect with those CU teams back then, how could you expect this CSU team and this CU team that CSU is going to stay in this game?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The only thing that makes me think that way is the extra week of preparation, knowing it's your Super Bowl if you're CSU. Like this, if you were ever going to have your best showing, this is the time to have it.
But it's always been their Super Bowl.
Right.
Even when it was the first game of the season, it's been their Super Bowl.
Right.
And they had plenty of weeks of preparation. Then obviously they didn't have CU tape back then, but that team, at least you could prepare for an expected team at that point.
Yeah. We'll see. So based off all of our score predictions, we all like CU to cover the 23. Also, for what it's worth, the look-ahead line on Oregon, 15.5 last I checked.
We're not looking ahead.
We're not.
Focused on this weekend.
Hey, for the bettors, degenerates, if you want those 2 touchdowns with Oregon.
That's fair. That's a good point.
I'm looking at it from that perspective. You brought up a good point to me before we get out of here as well, though. The first half spread at 13.5. So if you expect CU to get out to a big lead with Shedeur early, maybe they do take him out in the second half. They need to be up by 2 touchdowns going into half. I don't mind that spread laying the 13.5.
I took it early in the week once I saw it posted because usually those lines, especially when you're right around a key number, 13.5, I'm like, I don't want that at 14.5. I'd much rather have that at 13.5. So I took it early. If it's still at 13.5, I think it's worth taking.
Yeah, I might have to look into that myself, but